All right, this is a little closer than I thought. Devin Booker's more valuable than we think. So Brandon Ingram's been on a tear. Last 3 games, he's averaging like 30 points, 55% from the field. But what it really is, culture changes a lot of stuff, right? And the one and done in college basketball is our reality. The best players, high school, college 1 year, off to the NBA. Not all these NBA teams are equally patient. Villanova guys come out of college after 3 or 4 years, and you can see their ceiling by year 2. Kyle Kuzma stayed at Utah for 3 years. Second year as a Laker, he was averaging 18 points. You saw his ceiling. He was a 23-year-old kid, 24. But Brandon Ingram, the Lakers bailed after 3, and he popped in year 4. By the way, Jaylen Brown of the Celtics, 1 year at Cal, was a very good player early. Popped in year 4, averaged 20 a game. James Harden, Arizona State, came out 2 years at ASU, popped in year 4, a perennial all-star. Giannis entered the NBA at 19, popped in year 4, 23 and a half a game, an all-star. Pascal Siakam for Toronto, first year in the league he came in, first year in the league he averaged 4. The next year in the league he averaged 7. Year 4, what was he? Scoring 20 in playoff games. So I have been somebody that has suggested, what do you do with Zion? Well, I don't know what you do with Zion, but he averaged 21 points and 24 points his first 2 years in the league. I'd be patient. Brandon Ingram is your classic one and done. He looked really skinny. He couldn't literally have a glass of wine at the hotel he was staying at. He was locked in his room. He was kind of a shy kid. Even now, people are saying, like, he's in year 5 or 6. People are saying now he's just blossoming, just getting his confidence. That is what the one and done does. Now, there are some guys, Villanova guys come in just because of the culture Jay Wright created. They've stayed 3 years. By the end of year 2, you kind of know what you got. Mikal Bridges came in. He was never going to be a 28-point-a-game guy. Smart kid, played good defense. Can he give you 14 a night? You kind of knew at the end of year 2 that was his ceiling. Kyle Kuzma stayed in college 3 years. You kind of knew what he was by year 2. But, man, you got to be really, really patient. Now, I think the Suns will win this series, but you start looking around this league and the people who are dominating it, it's a lot of one-and-doners. And none of the success has come as fast as we thought it would come. Pascal Siakam, even Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum was a one-and-done guy at Duke, and he was really, really good by the middle of his second year. But, he wasn't a very good defensive player. Jason Tatum now is an elite wing defender, top 5 wing defender in the league, absolute closer. And I don't know if you've paid attention, has outplayed Kevin Durant in the series. It takes time emotionally. It takes time physically. A lot of these young guys come in, they go through second and third coach because of the way the NBA runs through its head coaches. But good for Brandon Ingram. Zion Williamson comes back. That ceiling is much higher than we thought with the Pelicans. And Phoenix now goes back home. Take a deep breath. Cross your fingers. I do think they will figure it out. But you're seeing this all over the league. Patience is a real virtue in this league. All right. I have an interesting question for you next. What happens when you felt bad for Russell Wilson? I wanted Russell Wilson to be in a better environment with an offensive coach and better weapons. I want to see Brady with better weapons. Matt Stafford with a better franchise. I like seeing stars be great, right? If you're into music, you don't want Jay-Z to have a bad producer. You want to see the greatest of the great be elevated. And Kevin Durant trails the Celtics 3-0, and they're done. And I said it after the second game. It's over. They have to work too hard for shots. So in about 5 minutes, I'll let you hear some sound from Kevin Durant. But one of the things Kevin Durant said was, I'm thinking too much. No, time out. You didn't think enough. Kevin, you're not down 3-0 because you're thinking too much. You're down 3-0 because you didn't give it enough thought. You left Steve Kerr for Steve Nash. Steve Nash had never been an assistant coach. Steve Kerr's a championship winning coach. He was a great broadcaster, a very good GM. It's a terrible decision. You left Steph Curry, the most selfless superstar maybe in any sport ever. Dude's coming off the bench now against Denver to give Jordan Poole more minutes for Kyrie Irving. You're not thinking too much. You didn't think enough. At one point, you and Kyrie were on a podcast, and you said, we don't need coaches. In the history of sports, college and pro, there's never been a dynasty without a great coach. Not one. Look it up. Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll, Popovich, Saban, Gino Auriemma, Pat Summitt, men's sports, women's sports, college, pro. Never been a dynasty without a great coach. You and Kyrie, we'll coach. Come on, man. Listen, I am not. NBA media and NBA agents are terrified to lose access to the stars. And it is a star-driven league. Increasingly, for the record, so is the NFL. But the NFL agents would go to their clients and say, don't do that, it's idiotic. The NFL media crushes its players. What would we do if Patrick Mahomes decided, I'm going to leave Andy Reid, Brett Veach, that roster, those fans, and go to the Jets because, I got a buddy, a slot receiver. You'd be like, his agent would go, no, I'm not going to represent you. I'm not going to sign off on that move. NFL media would crush him. Fans would roll their eyes at him. In the NBA, Kevin Durant leaves the Warriors for Brooklyn, and I was the only national person that was like, what are you doing? This is a terrible move. It's an awful move. What are you doing, man? You're picking the wrong guy to go to Vegas for the weekend with. You're going to end up broke. So it's like it's time. And by the way, the more power you give these NBA superstars, and not many have this power, but some do, the more power you give these NBA superstars. Anybody noticing a trend? Their team gets worse. I'm not a shut up and dribble guy. I like my athletes to have opinions. But for all athletes in all sports, cool it on thinking you know personnel. Remember Harden? I love Westbrook. We're guys. That's fine. That's one thing to be friends. It's another to play well together. And by the way, this isn't just for athletes. Anytime a coach in the NFL gets too much personnel power, Belichick, Pete Carroll, what happens to their drafts? Bill Belichick last year, best Patriot draft in about 7 years. Why? Belichick backed off. Let the scouts do it. Coaching's hard, playing's hard, scouting's hard, owning, I don't know if it's hard, but it's a reward for years and years of doing stuff with your capital and making a lot of money. But this stuff's all individually very difficult. I rip owners when they try to be a GM and coach. I rip owners. I rip the billionaires. Like, get out of the GM. Stop this stuff. Stop coaching. You're a billionaire. You're a business guy. You're not a GM. So I'm going to rip players like LeBron, who wanted Westbrook, and KD, who left Steph for Kyrie. What are you doing? You're not a personnel guy. You're not watching college games for the draft. So, Kevin Durant is a remarkable player, and he is now trapped. First of all, he's stuck with Ben Simmons. You can't trade that guy now. In fact, there's a story this morning. The Brooklyn Nets organization made sure Woj had this story, quote, we're exasperated with Ben Simmons. Exasperated? The contract just started. He hasn't played yet, and you're exasperated. And Kyrie Irving, they're trapped because Kyrie's going to opt out, and they're either going to have to trade him, what I would do, or give him a max extension. $50 million a year for 5 years. I can't do that with Kyrie. I can't. So Kevin Durant, after falling behind 3-0, he had a very somber post-game press conference. I mean, he was searching for answers, and here you go.
I was just thinking too much, to be honest, this whole series, like how I'm going to approach the game, you know what I'm saying? So we got another game to play, another opportunity, and I'm looking forward to that. You got good teammates around you as well. You're trying to figure out I try to figure out how I can be the best version of myself, but and also not getting in my teammates' way, Sometimes I think too much about it.
His agent did him a disservice. Patrick Mahomes' agent would have said, time out. You're not doing that. It's time to stop coddling. At one point, a newspaper retracted a headline because Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City was bothered by it. So, you know how many ugly articles have been written about people in America? NBA media, NBA agents, do your clients and those who seek access from these stars, do them a favor. Occasionally hold them accountable. We hold NFL stars accountable. Why can't we hold NBA stars accountable? The second Kevin Durant thought Steve Nash could do a Steve Kerr. I know they're both brilliant guys. But the idea that you can coach in the NBA without ever being an assistant for several years, there's a reason the Celtics have a really good young coach. Because he sat in a bench for years. That's the way the game works. There's a reason Jason Kidd was terrible in his first 2 jobs, and now he's better. Because he was on the bench for years. So this is not about thinking too much. This is about coddling, not holding people accountable, and KD now is absolutely trapped. I want to talk about this. So Brandon Ingram, now I think the Phoenix Suns are going to beat the Pelicans. But it's a fun story, right? Devin Booker gets hurt.